Hello, YouTube.
YouTube.
The codes of self-esteem. It's the codes of who you are.
Are you ready?
What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday. As always, here we are, the Primos Chidos, but today is something different. Today we have a very special guest, our boss, Keith Goodnews. Why don't you go ahead and say what's up?
What's up, y'all? I'm happy to be here. An honor. I'm on Primos Chidos. I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
You're a primo today.
I'm a Primo today.
The honor is ours. The honor is ours.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
So since we have you here, the first thing we wanted to do is the first 15 minutes, we wanted to just, get to know you. We've been working for you for a while now, and we wanted to sit down and kind of get to know you a little bit more. So I'll go ahead and start it off. Keith, one thing that I've always noticed about you is that in your show, you have a very optimistic point of view. You're very loud, you're very motivational. Has it always been that way for you? Have you ever struggled before in the past and things had to have happened for you to become who you are today?
Well, first thing, let me address the first thing. One, y'all don't work for me. We work together.
Yeah,
Make sure. but I feel like my mom is pretty intense. So I think that's kind of the basis of it. My mom is like the GOAT. Artist. She's the GOAT. She's the best, super motivational, super serious about her goals and accomplishing them. And, my dad is the same. So I feel like life has always been intense. I grew up playing sports my entire life. Since I was 4 years old, my dad put me in baseball and I didn't stop playing sports until college. Mm-hmm. So I think sports had a lot to do with, motivation and, I remember playing baseball. My dad used to hit the ball. They hit me in the face, sometimes. Mm-hmm. He would just stand there and get up, it's over now. So, I give a lot of it to credit to sports for sure. Mm-hmm. Sports kind of gave me that.
It give you that grind mindset, right? Of hustle and you got to always, I have a couple of friends who are super into sports, and they always say that in order to be the best at sports, you kind of have that mentality of you need to see yourself as the winner, as as the one who goes for everything, right? Mm-hmm. So I get that totally.
And you think about most metaphors when in motivation, most metaphors are usually used for the gym or sports or some type of athletic. Mm-hmm. Most metaphors are used around that motivation because it's so easy, to format it and to see the result when you're working out. If you go to the gym and you consistently go into the gym, you're going to see the results. So, I think that sports, like I said, I think it has a lot to do with my character and who I am today for sure.
Mm-hmm. Is there a go-to sport? Is there any of them that are your favorite?
Yeah, I would say now football for sure. Football is my favorite.
Really?
I love football season. I love football season. I love the fall. I love the winter. I mean, the fall is my favorite season. Mm-hmm. So, and then going into winter is another one of my favorite seasons because I feel like I can get ahead of the crowd in the winter. Most people are falling back or taking breaks or quitting. So I'm like, oh, cool. Everybody's slowing down. So I get to kind of get a leg up in the winter. So it's one of my favorite seasons.
You excited for the Super Bowl? And it's here in LA.
I'm a Panther fan, so it doesn't matter. So we've been doing bad for a while. Cam Newton broke my heart. Broke my heart, man, this season, but it's all good. So, but however, it's cool that it is out in LA. I'm from Inglewood. I went to Inglewood High School. I graduated from Inglewood High School. So it is not the same. So that's the con, I guess. But the pros is that it's bringing a lot of attention to the city. And it's pretty cool. I'm glad that LA has, now we got 2 teams and 5 teams.
Yeah.
And everybody's in Inglewood. So, there it is. The Clippers are coming there next. So,
Yeah.
So we're on obviously the Good News Radio, and you're Keith Good News. So why don't you tell us what made you want to get into radio and start yourself on this journey?
What's going on, family?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Let's see what. Okay, so the story goes. Actually, it came out of a depression. Actually, in 2014, 15, that year, I went through a serious depression, man, big time. I was doing. I don't know if you guys have ever done network marketing or multi-level marketing. But that's where a lot of my teachings come from. That's the first time I got ever introduced to personal development. But I never picking up books outside of what I needed for school. until I got into multi-level marketing, and it's just all self-development. So I think that's where I got my base of who I am today. But ultimately, you know, I made a lot of money doing that. And then I thought I was on top of the world. I had a drop top BMW. I had a townhouse out in the valley, and I was like 20, and I was in grad school at the same time. So and I was like 25, 26, you know. So I thought I was on top of the world. And you know, I think it was that first lesson of realizing it's not always going to be that way. And I lost everything. I had to move back with my dad. I'll tell you off air about what happened, just in case they listen to me. But long story short, I had to get rid of, I didn't have my BMW anymore, you know. I didn't have any money. I went from literally buying Louis Vuitton shoes and gold watches and drop top BMW to literally, I was the guy at the USC game saying, get your popcorn here.
Damn.
Yeah. So I literally was doing that, and that was the most humbling experience. I'm like, look, what the hell am I? How did I get here? You know. So it was a serious depression, and I think that's where I found radio. I was like, man, I've learned so much in my, you know, doing business that I need to share it. So I was like, okay, well, in grad school, I did this little, I got my master's degree in communications. So in school, we had to do like a radio show. It's one of our projects. Never done radio before in my life, just in grad school. So I remember doing that. I said, hey, I wonder if I can still do that. I can do like a 30-minute situation. You know, I was going into life coaching. That's what I was starting to do, life coaching, which is, this is way easier. So I was going life coaching, but it became too hard, and I was still depressed. Like, how can I teach people when I'm depressed? So I was like, man, I'll just do a little 30-minute radio show. I'll just get it out. It was terrible, by the way. But I did it out of my bedroom, and I didn't have no microphones, no nothing. I just had my headphones to my phone and my laptop. Wow. And I did that for 6 months out of my bedroom. And it was called You Create Change. That was my first radio show.
Wow. Has anybody come up to you and told you like, oh, you made an impact in my life, or like you really helped me get out of a rut?
Oh yeah. Now all the time. And that's my purpose now. That's what I'm intentionally doing with my life now, is to do that. So all the time now.
Wow. What does that feel like?
Purpose, like I'm doing it on purpose, you know.
But like, what does it feel like when someone says, hey, like, you really helped me out, like you pulled me out of a rut? What does that feel like, having been in a rut yourself and like doing that for other people?
Like I said, I guess it's a selfish thing, but we're all selfish, you know. Anyway, that's a whole other story. But for me, it lets me know that I'm doing the work that I was supposed to do, you know. So it's affirmation when it is for me. When people tell me that, it's like I'm doing a good job. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm impacting people. So it definitely feels like I'm on the right track, and I should keep doing this, you know. So it's always affirmation more so than anything. Like, cool, I'm actually helping people.
Did you ever find yourself like in a problem of maybe having like an ego, or like a feeling like you sometimes put yourself on top of other people and then you have to check yourself?
Of course.
Or, yeah, really?
Yeah, not really as of recently, but I think it came with, you know, like I said, before I was doing radio, I was doing multi-level marketing. I had teams all over the country. So I had a team of, I think, maybe 350 people. Like around the country, you know, 350 people total. And so, you know, there was learning how what I did wrong in those leadership roles. Now I know a lot more now, so I'm able to correct those things and not make the same mistakes I did back then, and which is why I think it totally dismantled, you know, because I was you know, it was just my first time doing it. So I definitely had to check myself, and now I check myself before, even so, like I make sure I take way more time to speak on things, you know, sometimes to a fault though. Sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes I need to be on that pedestal for the situation. So now it's a pretty nice balance. Yeah, it's a pretty nice balance, or harmony, should I say? I don't like balance, but harmony. You know? Yeah, harmony, should I say? But yeah, it's harmonious now. Now I know when I should and when I shouldn't. I know when I should be in front and when I should step back. So
what's it like having a brand and, you know, being the head of the brand that's primarily people of color? Like, is that something you kind of intentionally want to do? Did it kind of happen by accident? You're like, whoa, this is really cool. Or like, what does that kind of mean to you?
Yeah, actually, well, because I am black, I mean, it was no other way around it, so I think that came with the territory. But now, with Latinx, the whole point of that was like, okay, now we can impact our brothers and sisters. I mean, we can impact our primos. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was intentional. Like I said, it was all intentional. Super intentional. Everything we do is on purpose. Nothing is by mistake. Everything is by design.
Mm-hmm.
What would be some advice to you that you would give to someone who's actually trying to start up their own like business or their own kind of thing, kind of how you did? What is something that you wish you had known before you had started doing all of this?
Start where you are. Most people think they have to get to a certain point to start. Like I talk to people that say, "Oh, I want a restaurant." It's like, oh, I want to be a chef, but I gotta wait till I get like enough money to get a truck. And it's like, bro, just cook out your kitchen until you get there. So
yeah,
I think people don't start where they are, and it takes much longer for them to get through the process. And I started at my bedroom, and I just didn't stop. I just started there, and you have to start. I think that's the most important. It's starting.
Mm-hmm.
So most people don't get to that point.
Yeah, no,
kind of
sure.
like piggybacking off what my sister said. Instead of what advice would you give to somebody else, what's the best advice you've ever been given, and who said it to you?
Ooh. My mom gave me the best advice ever when I decided to, I guess I decided to go all in on this. I was doing it, and my mom was like, she really didn't believe it because, my mom didn't believe in what I was doing at the time because it was 2015, 2016. Podcast was nowhere.
Yeah.
And people was, it wasn't there what it is now. And my mom kind of got frustrated, but it was the best advice she gave me. She said, well, hurry up and like do it and find out if it's going to work or not. Like you're wasting time. So I was like, you're right. I should just go all in and find out if it's going to work. So my mom gave me the best advice of just, Keith, you got to go all in to find out if it's going to work. And that's what I did. I put all my eggs in this basket, and to this day, that's what I continue to do.
Shout out to moms, bro.
Yeah, mom's intense. I'm telling you, mom's intense.
Is there a place that you're kind of striving to get to? Like, is there like, I want to be like on the level of Spotify, or I think you mentioned that you wanted to be the next iHeartRadio. Has that changed, or like, what is the end goal for you, or is there no end goal?
I don't know what the end goal is, but the next goal for sure is for us to be $1 billion multimedia company. That is our goal. That's the goal that me and the team created together. And y'all at the retreat on Saturday, y'all will go through some of these practices. So y'all watch, it's gonna be dope.
Insider knowledge.
Maybe like 4 months ago, I took the executive team. We had our own retreat, 2 days actually. We went. It was remote. We was in Anaheim for 2 days. We stayed out there and everything. And we got a lot done, and that was the goal that we came up with, and that's the goal that we are moving forward with. So now everything, like I said all the time on my show, I'm getting used to the word billion. I'm getting used to it because you have to say it enough times to start having faith in it, and then that's when you start moving. So I still don't have a whole lot of faith in becoming a billionaire, but I'm working on my faith on it. The millionaire is easy, I'm no doubt. But a billionaire is something I got to work on. So still working on my faith in that.
Wow. Well, Keith, one thing that I've always liked about you is that you sound really well spoken. And like personally for me, I've always felt like I stutter sometimes and like I mess up on my speech. But what do you do to like kind of like educate yourself? Like what do you do to stimulate your mind? Like do you read or do you...
This is about to get deep actually. So
okay, go ahead.
Most people don't know. I never talk about. My mom always tells me, and I think I don't talk about it because it's kind of, I haven't gotten over it. But so I actually have Tourette syndrome. Most people don't know that. I had tick and Tourette's. And like instead of doing the ticks in my neck, and I used to do it when I was younger. I used to jump and I used to have all the ticks, but now I use my toes and no one knows. So that's my secret weapon. Yeah.
Wow.
So I used to stutter really bad, and due to that, that's actually why in 10th grade I decided to go into communications. Naive, I thought it was going to fix my speech pattern. I didn't know I was going to learn about how people actually, conduct, with each other. But now I don't care. I think I just don't care. I think that's the secret sauce. I don't care. I stutter. There, or like when Jack's, every time she take pictures, she'd be like, "Oh, how you look?" I'm like, "I don't care. I'm ugly sometimes." So post it. Sometimes I'm ugly. Post a picture. I don't care.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Cool.
I just don't care. I still stutter.
Mhm.
Wow, that's pretty solid advice, actually.
Yeah.
Well, Keith, it was good. This is a good segue into my segment. Kinda.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna talk about some things that each episode we all bring something to the table. So this week for the week, I wanted to bring up a book that I'm reading called The Five People That You Meet in Heaven.
Ooh.
So it's kind of giving me like an existential crisis every time I read it. And it's a little bit of a serious topic, but I've always wondered, and I want to know what you guys think. Two things. What do you guys think happens when we die, and what would you prefer happens when we die? We go ahead and start. Keith, you can go ahead and start since we got you.
Man, you said I was getting ready to hear the you said what happens when you die, and what was the second part?
What do you think happens when we die, and what would you prefer happens when we die?
What do I think happens? I have to say this now. I think nothing happens. I think there's nothing. I think there's just.
It's just the end.
It's just the end. I think
no
there's
existence.
Nothing. Yeah, that's it. Because what was it before you were here?
Yeah.
So I feel like life and death is, synonymous with one another. So, and what would I like to happen? What would I like to happen? I think I would like to live an afterlife, because I would like to reflect on my time here. But I guess ironically, you can only reflect while you're here.
Yeah. I mean, in the book that I'm reading, it talks about how a lot of people think that heaven is like this paradise and like this perfect place. But the book literally says that you can't have paradise without some type of reflection. So in the book, when the main character dies at the beginning of the book, which isn't a spoiler because it happens in the beginning, he meets 5 people. The first person he meets is this guy that he killed when he was a kid by accident. He was playing with his cousin. He threw the baseball. Baseball went into the road. He ran into the road to get it at like 6 years old. A guy swerved off the road and hit a tree and died.
Wow.
And he meets him in heaven, and he tells him how that even though that poor experience happened to him, he kind of lived like a bad life, and he kind of lived like he did a lot of morally bad things in his life. So to him, he thought he deserved to die in that way and not affect anyone, because the main guy, Eddie, the little kid, he never knew that he caused this man's death, and his innocence was preserved in that way. And I guess I should just go ahead and say what I think. I actually agree with you. I think I lean towards the side of I don't feel like anything happens when we die either. I think it's just kind of like nothingness, but to me, that's kind of peaceful. It's just like all that pain, all anxiety, all the thoughts, like it just kind of goes away. But what I would prefer to happen, I told my sister last week, is what I would prefer to happen is that when everybody dies, all of a sudden everybody instantaneously meets at the end of time, like the end of the universe. So like, let's say I died like tomorrow, like knock on wood, and then you die when you're 80. When I die, I instantaneously wake up at the end of time and I meet you, and you're there already. You died, you lived your life, and you tell me you lived to be 80. I lived my life. You died when we were in our 20s. I still did this. Like, you won't believe how Julie died. Like she choked on like a steak or something. And it's like to me that's what I would prefer happens, because then like there's no like waiting. There's no like kind of anxiety of just like, oh, like I'm dead, like now I get to look down. I don't know, but what do you think?
I like that.
I honestly think, I don't know, because I've always been in the middle of all of these things, but I do feel like there could be like an afterlife, just because I kind of grew up Catholic, and I do kind of believe there's a heaven, but I feel like there is something other than like this peaceful place. And what I would like to happen, even though I'm kind of like, I understand what you're saying about the end of time and all that stuff, but I think
but it's your I mean, it's your preference.
Yeah, but I feel like I like it, but at the same time it's kind of like, it's just scary to think about like death and all that stuff.
I get you.
But it would be nice to know that there is an afterlife, and like you get to see those who passed before you and like all that stuff. I would love to see my doggies again. I would love to see my pets again.
You think animals, if there is a heaven, you think everything is there? Like everything that's ever lived is there?
Yeah. What?
That's what I always think. Like every time you kill a bug, like
are there
true.
dinosaurs in
Yes,
heaven?
I was gonna say.
I hope so.
Maybe.
we're all made of the same stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. It would be. It's like. It's kind of like, even though it's death and it's like, it's always like a harsh thing. Like it's an exciting thing of like what can be there, but at the same time, it's like, People have had experiences that are like their relatives that like come in to visit them to actually tell them that there's an afterlife, right? But there's just stories, you know,
Yeah.
or like their dreams. So we can tell like what's real, what's not real.
Talking about the movie
but-
Coco.
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah.
talking about? No.
Well, kind of.
It's my
I mean, we
jam.
kind of grew up on that, you know. Like for
Right.
us, like that's part of our culture
course.
of like we
Of course.
celebrate life and like we assume that they actually come back, right? And I feel like I love that part.
I
Of
do
it.
too.
I love the part that we not only. I mean, yeah, it's a sad time, but it's like we celebrate their life. We give them their food because we expect them to come back from it.
Mhm.
So I feel like that's a really
Yeah,
nice
like
thing of
Dia de los
like
Muertos, right?
how I do believe that it is, and that's how I kind of wish it is, you know.
I don't know. Would you want me like if not gonna wood, if I was that young, would you want me to come visit you and scare you like in the
Bruh,
middle of the
don't
night?
scare me though. Like,
What if I'm like Julie? If I die young, like I'm gonna give you one spook, just for
bruh.
like
You gonna
or
kill me.
Brandon. Brandon, I'm gonna give you one good scare if I go early, just so you know I'm still out there.
I'd laugh. I'd be like, that's something he would do. But I mean, I used to be the opposite actually. I used to when I was younger. I mean, I'm not even that younger. Like maybe freshman year of college, and
Yeah.
before that, I used to be very like, there's nothing. Like that's all a bunch of mumbo jumbo. But I changed. I kind of don't really think that. Like when I was younger, I used to not really be able to wrap my head around the idea of like
Dying?
not being here. Not the dying part. I used to be like, have you guys ever been put out for surgery?
No, have you?
Yeah, I have. Well, when I got my wisdom teeth removed, they put a bunch of needles in me to knock me out, right?
Yeah.
And it was the weirdest thing because I felt it hurt, like it hurt the needles,
Mhm.
and I was like, well, I only got to deal with this until like I just black out.
Yeah.
And I saw them put the amnesia, whatever it is,
Mhm.
and I could feel it. I swear I felt it hit my heart, and then I was out.
Like
a light.
you literally felt it from like your vein.
I could feel it. I could feel something happening, and then just out like a light. Like I don't remember like falling asleep. I don't remember. I just remember waking up or anything.
Yeah.
Did you
And
try to fight it though? Were you like, I'm gonna try and stay up and see what happens?
I did, but like it was just like
It just was too strong?
It was just like out, like just gone, like out. And I remember after that, I was like, that's probably what it's like when you know what
Damn.
I mean? And but but that always bothered me, like
Mhm.
just I'm here now. I can't imagine not like being
Being
here.
here.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I
Like
was
memory.
but I was like, it's gonna happen. Like, you know, it's
Mhm.
one day
Yeah.
it has to everybody.
Mhm.
And so I kind of was like, I feel like I'll get old enough and realize like it's necessary. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I remember I told you something about like
The cult,
It's
right?
kind of like Disneyland, right? When you get there, you're like, oh, there's all these rides and there's all this. I got to do this. I never want to leave. But when it's like midnight, and your feet are tired. You've gone on everything twice.
Mhm.
Like it's time to go. Like I
Yeah.
want to go home. And I thought it was like that, you know. And I don't have a problem if it is like that. But I think something happens. Like I feel like as I get older, I get the feeling that there's something inside me, like a soul that I
Mhm.
feel, or like when I talk to people that I care about, or I'm with somebody that I love, or I'm laughing or having a good time. To me, that feels more than just chemicals in my brain
Mhm.
that I can't really explain, and that's why I think there is something more.
Mhm.
But as to what I hope happens, well, there's this interesting thing, and this is a real phenomenon. You can look it up. It's a really interesting TED talk about this doctor. I mentioned it before. Where in hospice, if you don't know what hospice is, it's where people who are terminally ill, where it's like
Mhm.
medicine
Mhm.
can't help you anymore.
Yeah.
They just go to make you comfortable,
Yeah.
and ease you in the go. Nurses, doctors, all of them will tell you that every single person who's there starts hallucinating. They dream about their past loved ones or their pets or something. And there's this really cool, a doctor, accredited doctor, talking about how these people who are terminally ill, like they have these dreams that they swear are not dreams. They're like, these aren't dreams. And where they talk to their mom and they're like, I had a bad relationship with my mom and we made up for it in these dreams. Or like, I saw my wife and like Betty White, I think her last word was she said her husband's name, who passed like 30 years ago. So that, I don't know. To me, that makes me feel like whatever it is, I think it's like we go somewhere peaceful. I hope it's something cool, peaceful,
Yeah,
stuff
I
like
get
that.
you.
The Joe Rogan podcast, CT Fletcher. Do you guys know who that is?
Yeah,
No.
I love CT
He,
Fletcher.
he talks about he went under the knife and he died because he has heart problems.
Yeah.
And he talks about how he saw his mom, and he said that whatever it was that he went when he died, he said it was so peaceful, like he can't even comprehend. Like it doesn't make sense now how real and peaceful it was. So I think it's something like that.
Okay, it's weird because I feel like life and death is like a cycle too. Because
Yeah.
like when you're, at least if you make it to your old age,
Mm.
like when you're a little baby, like you get changed, like people are taking care of you, and then if you're old and in hospice, like they also change you. They
Take
also like
care of you.
yeah, and you're like a little baby again,
Mm.
and it's like that cycle kind of makes me think that like maybe there is something out there. Like the same with you. When I was a kid, for some reason, I was more of like I was like it wasn't that I was against religion. I just had like this resentment towards religion. I don't know why. I don't know where it
Same.
came from. But the older I get, the more I try to look at like the brighter side of what it brings to people. Like to a lot of people, it brings peace. To a lot of people, it like families get close in celebrations. But I mean, obviously, sometimes it can be misused.
Yeah.
But I try to look at the brighter side, and I don't know where like the resentment came from. I
Probably
think
forced because it was. I'm a person that goes against the grain too. It's like, wait, why do I have to believe this? You know what I mean? Like just because y'all said it. You bring up something that made me think about the. Have you ever heard of the Gita?
no.
The Bhagavad-Gita. So it's pretty much, it was written before the Bible, you know.
Mhm.
So I've studied the Bhagavad-Gita. I've studied the Tao Te Ching. If y'all have ever heard of that, it's incredible, you know. But all these different spiritual manuals, which is essentially what the Bible is to, you know, America or whatever.
Yeah.
Our modern society, should I say. But it talks about the cycle of life, and it talks about how you have to, even while you're living, like don't get attached to anything or anyone, because you have to detach from it anyways. So you spend so much of life trying to keep things that you're going to lose anyway. So anyway, it's very deep. If y'all ever get a chance, it's super long. So, but I didn't read the whole thing, but I definitely studied it for a bit, and it taught me a lot, just about how to, you know, attach to things and how to detach from things.
Yeah.
Because when you die, you detach from your failures and your successes. So nothing goes with you.
So
Yeah.
do you side with like any religion, or are you just like a spiritual person?
No, so I talk to people in the way that they understand. So if I got to use God, I'll use God. I'm not hung up on terms and words. First of all, vocabulary limits us, period. That's why in different languages, there's words that don't exist in certain languages.
Yeah.
Vocabulary literally limits us. So unfortunately, you know, that's the only way we know how to communicate, you know, verbally, is through words. So I'll talk to people however they understand it. So if you understand God, if you understand Allah, if you understand, I don't care what you call it, him, her, whatever, it doesn't matter to me, because I'm over that. That's like ego, you know. That's ego trying to be right. And my best friend has said the only thing I believe in is that you'll know what you're talking about, and I don't know what I'm talking about. That's the only thing I really truly believe in. Because we don't know, for real, you know. So I talk to people however they understand it.
I get that. Have you guys ever had like a spiritual experience? Like either you feel like somebody from beyond the grave like talk to you, or do you feel like you had like a ghost experience?
No, I've never had it. Although a good amount of my friends have always said that they've always had like these spiritual things happen to them, where like they have like a family relative, or like they felt like chills of like someone's there or someone's standing there. I personally have never experienced that in my life. Like nothing. Like I know a lot of my friends are always saying like they get like signs or like something. Maybe it's because I've never really had like someone personally like pass for me.
I get you.
I mean, I've only had some recently, but like I still haven't gotten anything from them mostly. Some of them are kind of scary though. But I do hope that if I ever do experience it, that it is like a good spirit. It is like a family member or something. I always wish it was my pets sometimes. I was like, oh, I would love to feel them sometimes, but
I feel like
It doesn't
if
happen.
anything, I've never really had like a ghost experience or a spiritual like experience either. But I feel like we had a lot of dogs growing up. Like in my life, me and my sister have probably owned like over 20 dogs. And a lot of them were buried in my old house before we moved. And I always felt like I kind of felt like their spirit. Once I was in my backyard and my sister went inside and the sun was going down, and I was just looking, and I swear I don't know why, I was like totally tripping out. I felt like this ground was moving, and it was like on the grass area where we buried my most recent dog Chata. And I remember I kind of felt as though like there was something there, and I just got scared and I just went inside. I don't want to explore anymore. I was like, that's enough for me.
Can I ask y'all a question?
Yeah,
like,
go ahead.
How if you just kind of piggyback off, if you could choose how you would die, how would it? What would you choose?
I would choose old. I would just choose to get old.
But that everybody's going, that's not a way to die. That's just what's going to happen. But
okay.
the cause of death. What would your choice be?
Actually, I remember when I was a kid, I would get asked this sometimes, and I'd always say I'd go out and like self-sacrifice. So if I had to choose, like let's say we're in like a war or something, let's say we're like fighting aliens or something.
Yeah.
You know, on Independence Day when they fight the plane into it, I'd go out like that. I'd go out as a hero. Why not? What about you, Brandon or Julie?
You want to go first?
The only thing I can think of is like I go into like a coma or something.
What?
Like I just die peacefully, like in my sleep. Like,
But that's like saying getting old.
yeah. Well, I mean,
but people do die in their sleep, so I mean there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
That is
I
true.
just feel like
That's true.
I just feel like a slight pain or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
Brandon,
that's just me.
would you want to see it coming, or would you rather have it be surprised?
Right.
Man, that's tough. I like how Betty White went. How it was just she was just completely fine. Took a nap. She was gone. I actually had this neighbor. You guys remember? You guys went to my house and the neighbor.
100-year-old?
Yeah, he's 100. He made it to
Wow.
100. He had a poster. He made it 100. He died recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Rest in peace, my neighbor.
Oh.
But don't they still have it up?
No, they took it down.
Oh,
But
they took it
down.
What
It's been
happened? What
down.
happened to him actually
Made
was, forgive me if I'm not, but I guess he just had some trouble and he went to the hospital and he was making like a completely fine recovery. Like he was doing good, and he was watching football. And the nurse left, and then she came back and he was gone. He was gone. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Damn.
something like that. But if I had to choose like an unnatural way, I guess like how you would. Yeah. I think that's like I
Die
guess
hero.
I think it's like the male like
We have a.
I wanted my choice. It's me, my choice.
Yeah.
What about you, Keith?
Yeah.
Man, probably some type. I mean, I don't know. I guess probably some type of like organ failure, unfortunately. I mean, that's just what happens when you get old. Your organs just start to give out.
Yeah.
I mean that's that's pretty much what I would suspect. But honestly, I always like tell myself like it could be any day. So I try to like really think about that.
yeah,
Like,
for sure.
yo, you can really today might be my last day. So
Yeah.
you know.
Chris 17181 said idea for next episode Ouija
Ouija
board.
board.
LOL.
Oh.
No thanks. No thanks.
Bro, I don't
No thanks.
Bruh, no, I don't want to mess with that.
Yeah,
bro.
Brandon famously he doesn't like anything like not going to haunted places, like doing stuff
Well,
like that. Seeing scary movies
I-
that have to
I
do with
believe
like
that.
real life events.
I believe that like bad spirits follow you.
Yeah,
like,
well, because
nah, bro.
I believe in that. Well, I actually have had a lot of like spiritual moments, and I was always kind of like
Mhm.
but like I remember one time. I'll tell you the one I told you.
Isn't your
Well,
tattoo
I'll
one?
tell the bad one, then the good one.
Okay.
So the one time I was picking up my girlfriend at the time, and
Wow. Yeah.
I was just waiting because she was like late or something. I was just gonna go pick her up, and she was like, "Oh, I'm not home yet. Like, can you wait like 5 minutes?" I was like, "Yeah, totally." And I just parked. I was on my phone by this this preschool I used to go to. I was just parked there, and I was on my phone, and I hear. And I go, oh, it's probably her. And out of the corner of my eye, I swear, it looked like there was a person there, like just knocking on the window. And I went like, oh, hold on, let me just, open the window. I turned, no one's there. And then just all my hair started like freaking me out. And I was like, I think I need to leave. Because I looked around and not a single person was there. And I just bolted out of there. I told you right after. And he told me, oh, tell him what you saw before that.
Which time?
You had told me when I left, you were going inside and you thought your neighbor was coming up to me.
Oh yeah. Okay, so that same story, because he had told me that what happened was that from the corner eye you thought you saw somebody, and then the knock happened and you looked and nobody was there and nobody was around you. So when he had just left my house, and when he had left my house, I was walking back to my house, and then I just turned back just because sometimes the neighborhood's dangerous, so just wanted to see if he got in his car. And when I turned back, it looked as if somebody was like walking behind him, and I was like, oh, it's my neighbor. And then I got I did a full turnaround and he was gone, nobody was there, and I was like, oh, that's weird. And then he texted me like 15 minutes later that happened.
Yeah. So,
and
we all live in multiple realities, like currently, like we live in a reality in our mind. That's why we can literally see things. Literally, we can like see them, right? So, and then we have a physical experience that we're having. So, it's I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's a whole nother. It's two realities
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
So
Have you
That's
have you ever seen Interstellar?
the movie,
Yeah.
it's when they go out in space, right?
Yeah.
I think I have. I don't recall the movie, but I know what you're talking about.
It's because there's this one scene where the main character, he goes back in time and he sees himself like back in the beginning of the movie, and he's like knocking on like this like
The
I don't know,
bookshelf. It's a
like this bookshelf. Yeah, and he obviously in the past he can't really see himself, but he's there. He's there even though he's in the room. And I'm wondering if like the girl, maybe it's like your daughter in the future or something. Like she gets
some-
caught in a wormhole and
That's some real
That's
Rick
pretty
and Morty shit right there, man.
She
Yeah.
was trying to warn you about something, bro.
Maybe
That you were just sitting there in your car.
Yeah, I should have been there.
Julie, why don't you go ahead and introduce us to what you brought to the table for this week?
All right. So for my part of this, I know this past time I saw in your Instagram post you were talking about relationships and like money and like how relationships are very valuable.
Mhm.
They have a lot more value. So I found this thing on Twitter. Me being always on Twitter. So there's this thing, you know, people always be giving their opinions on Twitter and stuff. So I wanted to see what you guys think about the dating world and all that stuff and relationships. So there's this part that said, if you think a man should pay all the bills, date someone that agrees. If you think it should be 50-50, date someone that agrees. The problem is y'all want to convince people who don't agree instead of just dating someone who has the same values. And then they're like, this is why this topic is so annoying, right? And so then someone quote tweeted it and was like, I be saying this all the time. Y'all spend too much time on this app trying to convince people of your values when you can simply find people that already share your values. Billions of people on this rock, you're not that unique. That's fine looking people that already agree with you. And, you know, people are just going on tangents on it, right? So I wanted to see what you guys think about the first part about how he was saying that, like, if someone wants to pay the bill, like, date someone that agrees, or if you want to go 50-50, or how do you guys feel? How have you guys seen? I want to see the male perspective.
The male perspective.
Because I've seen the girl perspective, and
what is the girl perspective?
so for at least for my side of things, I've seen some girls be like, yeah, like a guy should pay for stuff, right? If you go out, like he should pay, blah blah blah. The other part, I have also seen people who are like, you know, now they're like, we're equal, right? We should have 50-50 and like we should do all that. Like or I don't know if you guys have seen when they're like, oh, girls trying to reach for like their bag or something, pretending they're gonna pay.
Yeah. And the guy should be like,
yeah, and the guy should be like, no.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like those things, but sometimes you're with someone who's like doesn't have that. So what do you guys think? Like, should we have like that mindset of like one person should pay, or like should we go 50-50? What do you guys think? I want to know the male side of this.
Okay. Well, I don't know. It's weird because it's based on what you were raised as. Because
That's true.
it's like I feel like in this new generation, it tries to be equal. Where like sometimes women should pay, sometimes men should pay. But some people are raised in traditional households where it's like the man not only has to pay, but he also has to be the breadwinner.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like your thing. For me personally, on the dates that I've been on, I usually am the one who pays, not because I feel an obligation to. I just feel like it's the nice thing to do.
Yeah.
And I don't know about like the whole like because I know there are girls out there who are more into the like I'm the prize and I should be treated as the prize and I should always never have to pay for anything. I mean, I'm not calling anybody out. I don't know anybody personally like that.
yeah.
Come on, you know if you.
So I don't know, Brandon. What do you think?
I mean, I like you. Yeah, I tend to pay, but it's more like well, for one, I think it's a little romantic. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, okay. But I also think
you don't think it's too one-sided?
I think it shouldn't be where like you have to pay if you want to be with me. It should be like I'll pay because I want to. Like I don't think it should be like you have to, or like we shouldn't be together. Because if it's like that, then I kind of don't want to. I kind of don't like you.
It just feels mean at that point.
It feels mean. Like I'm paying you to be with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's more, I think it should be like, like I don't have a problem with the girl paying, but like usually it's kind of like holding open a door or something that. It's just manners. I just think it's kind of nice. You know what I mean? But I feel like if you're together for a long point, like if you're in a relation for a long time, it's cool to have the other person pay over now.
I also feel like some people have these expectations on certain people, or like as girls, like sometimes we have these certain expectations on guys. and then it's kind of like once we're with them, we kind of get disappointed, and we're kind of like it kind of get like it tarnishes everything else, right? Where you're like, like some people they're like, oh, this is how I should be treated, or this is the way that guys should be treating me in a way. And I think that's how kind of right now everyone's at that state. Well, not everyone, but it's a good majority of like people are like, this is how you should treat me, and like, or like some people are like, I'm dating to marry, and it's kind of like just like enjoy what's like happening or what that person can provide for you. And I feel like that's why a lot of people go into relationships really fast, and they don't get to know each other quick of like, what can this person provide for me, or like what can we get, or what can we gain from this like relationship or something.
Yeah, like I always felt like a relationship or like some should be like the cherry on top, you know what I mean? You should be a-okay without somebody. They shouldn't be like, I need them or else I'm like a goner, I'm like I can't function. I feel like that's kind of irresponsible in my opinion.
And in college I took a philosophy of love class, and I remember one of the things that I found especially interesting was that they talk about how there's this like, because we live in the patriarchy, right? Like how men are usually in charge of most things in society. Men are so it talks about how like, because of like our societal norms, a lot of the society puts pressure on men to kind of be like perfect, to be like gods and to be like kings, to be like the dominant one. But because of that, like a lot of men fail to live up to that expectation, and because of that, a lot of women end up like expecting too much of men, and like it ends up backfiring. Like specifically there's this quote that says men would not look like dwarfs if they were expected to be gods. I think no if they were expected I don't remember how it goes. It's like they wouldn't look like dwarfs if they were expected to be giants. I think that's what it is.
Okay.
And I thought that quote, I literally took a picture of it because I thought it was kind of hilarious. I knew if I sent it to all my girlfriends, they'd be like, oh yeah, facts. Like men do disappoint. But it talks about how you're kind of set up for failure as a man in society because of the patriarchy.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And I always tell my lady, like, there's this invisible weight that I hold that she can't see or don't experience. It's just the nature of being a man, you know. And it's I think historically, because we live in a society where women still get paid less than men, on a large scale. So I think that has something to do with why we would pay. Because even if we make the same amount of money on a wide scale of things, that's kind of the way it's always been. So that's kind of our foundation still to this day, is that men make more money than women, and that expectation is still there. So I think that has a lot to do with it, honestly.
I agree. It does. Plus, I mean, I don't know, I like some aspects of chivalry. Like I like holding the door open for people. That's cool.
Chivalry. So I got an interesting story on chivalry. Go ahead. So about how it actually came about. Like, chivalry is actually not the best thing, actually.
I take that back.
No, but we don't understand half of the stuff we say. So I mean, but chivalry, I learned, and I hope I'm 100% correct. I'm not 100% correct. I'm never am. But chivalry was done to court, so it was a process. It wasn't like a consistent thing. It's what men would do during the process of courting a woman to be married. But after the process was done, chivalry didn't continue on. It was just so chivalry was a process. Like, so that's why you would open the door. You would do it to show her during this period of time. Like, it's a courting process.
Really?
Yeah. So it wasn't like a continuous thing. It was like after they were done and married, like that, all that was over with. So it was just a man opportunity, because women historically serve the men. So chivalry was it's like, okay, you serve your woman for this process and show her that you can, and then she serves you afterwards. So it's like you do it first. You know what I mean? So
it's the same thing with marriage. I took a women and gender studies in college, and you know how in traditional weddings, it's like the dad gives over, walks the daughter down the aisle and hands them over to the husband. Well, like, back then it started off that it was actually like, the male's talking, the guy's like, I want to have your daughter and blah blah. So it was like he sold his daughter off. So then it's kind of like the dad is selling his daughter to the husband. So then that's kind of like how it happened. Like, that's how it traditionally was. Like, it used to be like they're selling their daughters, and then like some guy is like, okay, I want to buy her, and then so he's like handing her off.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
So then that's how weddings happened. I remember when I found that out, I was like, wow, No more weddings, bro.
I know.
No.
I'm gonna find
Nah,
out about the
bro.
white dresses, about why people wore white dresses, and about why even people use rings. Even so, it really, really shocked me realizing that people think that rings symbolize marriage, right?
Mhm.
But that's literally, it's just as good as why Santa Claus wears red. People think Santa Claus always wore red.
Mhm.
No, Santa Claus used to wear green. Coca-Cola started a Christmas campaign and they made Santa Claus red and it just stuck.
Wow.
Wow.
No BS. Even rings. Before rings started, it was you had to have land or a home. You had to show that you could provide for the woman. That was what you gave her to marry her. That was the trade-off. It's
Really?
like, look at this home, look at this land, look at what I can provide for
Mhm.
you. And then the De Beer brothers, with their great marketing scheme, came out with these get her a diamond ring, and they marketed it so well that it stuck.
Wow.
And that's
Uh-huh.
why we use wedding rings today. It has nothing to do with the getting married. It has everything to do with marketing.
Damn. Capitalism, bro.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Ruins
true.
everything, bro.
Ruins
Revealing,
everything.
someone's probably listening like, wow, you know
Mm.
what? I don't believe in anything.
Look, I found the slide of that I took a picture of, and I wanted to bring up this one thing because a lot of people, you know how obviously teenage girls and like people obsess over celebrities, like
Yeah.
we're talking about like boy bands, Harry Styles, like all this stuff. So there's something that how like they would not seem like dwarves if they are not asked to be giants. So sometimes women can gain more satisfaction in the absence of their lover than in his presence. And some women devote themselves to someone dead or otherwise inaccessible because if she never has to face him in person, then she will never have to be confronted with a real life flesh and blood human who is contrary to her dreams.
Wow.
Damn.
So that's like a theory
Mhm.
of why people obsess over like celebrities.
Celebrities, yeah.
Mm.
Bro, that's
Mhm.
crazy, bro. Bro, I remember in middle school, especially when Justin Bieber came out.
Oh,
You know?
yeah.
Everyone was like so obsessed with him. I
Nothing
remember
was
that.
bigger than Backstreet Boys and NSYNC when I was in school. Nothing was. They like, oh my, I mean, like no matter what race, black, white,
Mhm.
Latino, Latina,
Yeah.
like everybody had freaking Justin Timberlake on their wall. It was crazy. So
No, but
Yeah.
people get wild, like especially when when Justin Bieber started getting married, like
Yeah,
people
yeah.
were wild, like
Mhm.
hating on his wife
Of
and like,
course.
oh, they're not meant to be together and
Mhm.
blah blah. And it's like, bro, like chill, like y'all
yeah,
need
no,
to chill.
people would disrespect a celebrity that's married. They would still say, I would jump his bones, I would jump her bones.
Yeah.
Like, bro, like,
bro.
that's a whole person's wife or
Yeah.
husband. Like, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's just they do.
Fanatics are crazy, bro.
Yeah.
In general.
Brandon.
But Brandon, what you got for us today?
Oh, well, mine was just thought. I don't know. Maybe I'll run it by you guys. Maybe you guys be like, oh, maybe it won't. Maybe it'll put the government it'll make them scared. But
Okay. Okay.
so we've talked about aliens a lot on this show, and I'm famously kind of a skeptic. It's not that I don't believe in aliens. I just don't believe that they're here, right? And but there's a lot of like evidence to the contrary, right? There's people who are like pilots, trained Marines. There's Bob Lazar who, like let's say a Marine, right, or an Air Force pilot, right? They talk about how they saw this pill thing. This is a real thing, right?
Yeah.
There's the videos that leaked that they unclassified, and it shows like the little movement of the craft or whatever it is.
Mhm.
And I was thinking about how people say like that's usually the big like there's proof that there's aliens here is that there's these people who just wouldn't lie are telling these stories. Like, so let's start with Bob Lazar, right?
Okay.
And so I remember Joe Rogan had this guest who was talking about, and I always said this thing about how like I feel like there's so many steps before you get to an alien that it's kind of weird how we overlook those steps. And one of the things that the guest brought up was, what if they're using like DMT or hallucinogenics to like, and they're testing it out on soldiers as like a weapon. So maybe we can, if we're in combat, we can make our enemy hallucinate. And I was thinking, someone like Bob Lazar, right? Where he said element 15 or something like that.
Yeah. So he famously talked about how the government had access to this new element called element 15, or I think 115. And he said this for like years, and then 20 years later, like around 2000s, the government announced that they actually did have this element, which put a lot of credibility behind Bob Lazar.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking, a lot of people who have done DMT, they've talked about, they see spiritual things, they see the mechanical elves, they see all these things, but something that a lot of people do see is aliens. They say they wake up on an operating table and aliens are there. I mean, this is in Grand Theft Auto 5, right? Where you can take DMT,
Yeah.
and you wake up in an alien ship. And I was thinking, wouldn't that be a great weapon? Because think about it. Let's say we capture a Russian spy.
Okay.
Right? A Russian spy, a Chinese spy, someone that the United States is not, and we give them a heavy dose of DMT.
Okay.
And they're not aware of it. So when we give them back and they're like, dude, like, I swear, like, I saw these aliens and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It could be used, and they're testing it out on pilots. They could test it out on people like Bob Lazar, where they're using these drugs and they're making them believe they saw something so crazy that it kind of covers up what the government is actually doing, which is probably like, developing nuclear weapons and stuff like that. And I was like, I feel like that's more plausible. Like, because can you imagine if we had spies and because like that movie Bridge of Spies, where the United States and the Russians, they trade spies because, I don't know, they just trade spies. But can you imagine like if they're, because obviously they're gonna be like, well, what'd you see? Like, what'd you tell them? Like, did you get anything? Like, that's kind of a way of brainwashing in it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like if you give someone a heavy dose of hallucinogenics and you make them believe they saw something they didn't, because I could see like them testing it out on like the military and like military personnel. Yeah. And then imagine studying it. Like you're at the government, you're saying like, hey, it worked. Bob Lazar's like, he really believes he saw this shit. And
can I play devil's advocate for you?
Yeah.
So what if that's the only way to see it?
Interesting.
Because I didn't have some good weed, man. It had me saying some stuff. You know what I'm saying? But like, what if that's, because everything requires access to some capacity, so what if that is the way to see it? Like the Matrix, you got to take,
that's true.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Oh, that's true. That's, I mean, a lot of people say that DMT is like a gateway to see something, but I feel like I just can't, for me, the step where it's like, it's such a big leap to aliens that I just can't.
The incidents that I keep thinking about is the ones of the U.S. Air Force. How for like a year they said they saw these white pills, like they were either underwater or they were moving at like incredible speeds. That's where those videos that I think got released last year, 2020, right?
Yeah, there's the ones where they have it tracked on
the water.
On the water, like the jets are like flying over it, and they have it tracked.
Yeah, stuff like that. Like to me, it's like if you take DMT, you're like seeing something completely else. Like you're seeing a whole different dimension. Right. Yeah, as far as that's
deep.
It's just like that's like a.
But you don't think the government could like do experiments with DMT? Maybe like a moderate dose, mix DMT with psilocybin or some other thing that brings it down a notch, that just amplifies the reality that you're seeing. Where it's like, if you take mushrooms, you see a person. You know what I mean? Like that's not unheard of. Like I could see the government, because the government, I'm sure, $700 billion in budget in the military. That's I feel like that's going to a lot of places we obviously don't see.
So what if it's more practical? Because think about this. Like at one point we weren't able to see electrons, protons, and neutrons, and we had to have some device to now be able to have access to seeing that. So it was always there. It's just we can't see it with our eyes. I don't know if you guys have even looked at the picture of the Hubble telescope. Have y'all seen like what is captured? It's pretty interesting how small we are of a planet in comparison to the galaxy. But I mean, with that, I feel like there has to be. I mean, for me, logically, there has to be. And unfortunately, I rely on logic because I'm having a human experience, and logic is what we base our human experience off of. So I'm limited, but however, with my limited, that's the only thing I can understand.
No, yeah, totally. I believe in aliens. Like I'm sure they're out there somewhere. Like it's just statistically improbable that they're not out there. But for me, that they're here flying around, like playing around with us, like I just feel like that technology, like first of all, the technology that they're describing, where it goes from sea level all the way to space in a matter of a second, that's something we're not even close. Like according to us, like according to our science, that's impossible. Yeah, exactly. Like that's not even like in the question.
So it's flying.
And to me, it's like the fact that we can measure that, and I feel like it's just too convenient for me. Like I don't know, dude. I could see it being like, what if it's a radar jammer? Like it's something that it's a computer thing. Like we're making the jet see that. Like we're
Well,
hacking
okay.
into the jet. Because like imagine if we're in a jet fight. It's an American guy and like a Chinese guy in a jet fight, and we have this thing. It's a weapon where we hack into the Chinese jet system, and it makes them see the jet tracking system see something that isn't there, or track into something natural. Like it could be a proton or something that does do that, but it amplifies it, because that's what the technology does. It usually amplifies what it sees. So for me, I feel like that's the should be the first like step. But for me to jump to like it's an alien and it came in from outer space, it's like,
And it's an alien from outer space, and these Air Force people just caught it on camera.
yeah, you know what I mean?
I'm pretty sure Barack Obama's an alien.
You
think so?
I'm
You
pretty
think so?
sure.
Do you
I'm pretty
actually?
sure. I believe that.
Dead ass.
Yeah.
Patty with
Why do you
Fatty.
say that?
Oh.
Oh,
I was
go-
gonna say,
go ahead.
Patty with Fatty says, if y'all watched Invisible, there's a scene Invincible. There's a scene in the end that they use a white room that can't be seen to a regular human eye, but it's just an animated show, so it won't do
Too
much. What?
Well, I think he's just trying to say that like there's stuff out there that the government maybe has that like we can't really comprehend. So what he's
Of course.
describing in the white room is in this scene, these two characters step into this room, and it appears like everything is white, but then they turn it off, and it's actually like a government laboratory, and they reflect these lights above like the ceiling that make it so you can't really see what's around you.
Yeah.
And it kind of segues into what I wanted to say is that I don't know, dude. It might just straight up be aliens, because there's this document from the 1960s. The government had like this program to try and figure out astral projection, and like it doesn't have to do with aliens, but what I want to bring up is like the government does a lot of weird shit.
Exactly. But I feel like exactly though, the government does do a lot of weird shit. So that's why I'm like, maybe it's not aliens, maybe it is the government, because I've seen the people talk about like the Marines who are like, oh, I was there on that ship, and I don't know the credibility of this. They'll usually say that the commanders or the person in charge is usually like, nah, it's like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like they know something.
Mhm.
And what they said is that's consistent when the government is testing something out on them and they don't know about it, because the government does that all the time. They'll test
Mhm.
something out on the military and then they'll just not know it. So to me, that's what I kind of think.
So you
it
think
is.
the government's trying to scare us? Like,
I don't think scare us, but like think about it.
Maybe
like,
it was trying to figure out like, okay, can a human comprehend this like special vehicle without losing its mind? Because there's this video of this guy who says that like he worked for the government, and this is what he says. Who knows if it's true? But he said that supposedly that aliens like walk among us like all the time, but that like our mind can't really like comprehend what it's like to see something that isn't human. So it fills in the gaps by making it look more human than it is.
Ooh, hey, that's deep for on a few levels, because one, try to think of a color you've never seen before.
yeah,
You know,
totally.
try to think of a number you've never heard before. And not even that, let's take it back, historically. If you would go back in time with your iPhone and you try to convince people that one day that on this rock here in 100 BC that you're going to be able to talk to somebody face to face around the world, they will cut your head off.
Yeah.
Because it's impossible. So it's unfathomable, until it happens. So I say all the time, I think what we're doing, like, we don't understand. Like the internet is, we have an internet, like we can fly a plane, like we take a bus and around the world, like that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like FaceTime isn't. I'm still blown away that I can cut a TV on without anything touching.
Yeah.
That is still as minor as it is. It seems logically impossible.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. Our mind has to fill in the gaps. That's what we do. Just like in movies, they'll skip scenes and you fill in the gap with your mind
It's true.
to know what
I
happens.
can
You know
see
what I'm
that.
saying?
Yeah.
That's true.
Mhm.
He's 100%
wait,
right.
so going back, you said Obama might be an alien?
I think Obama's an alien.
Genuinely?
Yeah,
Why do you think
why?
that?
Yeah, I think Obama's an alien because he's too good. You know what I'm saying? He's too damn good.
though?
Like I've been watching, like he ain't make no mistake. Come on, man. So he ain't got nothing, no skeletons in the closet.
It's like Michael Jordan's an alien too. He's just too good on the court.
He's too good.
He's too good on the
Just
court.
too good, man. Just too good.
Or maybe he's a lizard. You believe
Oh,
in the
the lizard
lizard
people?
theory?
Have you heard about that?
They say
No.
no. They say, well, you haven't heard about the
No,
lizard?
tell me.
Really? That's
we literally
wow.
we made some memes about it too.
So like a part of what it's like, how that people believe in the Illuminati.
Mhm.
Like I think like a next step to that, where it gets a little more intense, is that the rich and powerful are lizards. Like they're shapeshifters. Like so, and they like drink the blood of young people and kidnap. Like that's like Epstein Island is more like they take the blood and drink.
Yeah.
That's how they stay immortal. And like the lizards are like shapeshifters, and they're not really. They're here to like destroy humanity, and they're aliens. But yeah, I thought that's what you were getting at.
Absolutely love that. I absolutely love that theory because it makes you think like, damn. Now I'm thinking like, are they lizards? You know. Now when I get rich, I'll let y'all know. You know, I will be there.
If you
Maybe
got the lizard,
Keith's the lizard.
I might be a lizard right now. I don't even know yet.
You're gonna do the eye thing to us.
Yeah, I don't even know. I might be a
That's
lizard.
why he's wearing
I'm wearing
glasses,
shades.
Glasses.
He's wearing glasses right
Yeah.
now.
Green, like the scales.
Yep.
The hints are all there.
The long hair is all there, man.
I mean, it's just if it is aliens, that's crazy that
They
can do that.
say reality is stranger than fiction, man.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm scared.
I hope in my lifetime, my cousin once told me that he thinks that in our lifetime the government's gonna reveal that aliens exist. So I hope that's actually true. I hope my brain doesn't explode from like the
Obama.
information.
Have you seen what Obama said about it?
What do you say?
When he was on the David Letterman show, and David Letterman's like, "Are there aliens?" And he's like, "I can't say yes or no," and he just kind of smiled, and he's like, "But I've seen some interesting things."
Bruh.
That's what Obama said, the president, and that's the only reason I'm like, maybe.
I mean, honestly, like outside of your religion and what you believe, like, how did we get here? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Think about it. You know, so it's no telling. Like, what if this is actually like an illusion that we're living?
We're in the Matrix. I told you we're in a simulation.
Because you get like, where do thoughts come from?
Yeah.
Like, thoughts enter the brain. Like they're like they're coming from somewhere else, and then you operate this robot from another. I don't know. Anyway, I guess we'll find out when we die. But but yeah, I always think about that.
All right. So TGN Latinx has a few questions. If they asked you to join, would you guys cross over?
The lizards or the aliens?
If they promised you everything you ever wanted, to the reptile people or to the aliens? To become a reptile person?
I feel like all the lore, according to all the lore, the reptile people are bad. Aliens, they seem to be leaving us alone, so I feel like they're kind of chill.
Supposedly the reptile people aren't aliens; they come from under the ground, right?
Oh yeah, it's like there's the Earth is hollow, and that's why you can't go to Antarctica because that's like the entrance.
Yeah, it's like the entrance to go inside.
To go inside. Yeah.
I'm doing it.
Okay,
would you be an alien or a reptile?
I don't care. I'll take a new experience anytime. You know.
I saw an interesting question yesterday that was like, if aliens came to you and they're like, we're gonna show you you saw it. Yeah. We're gonna show you for 1 week. We're gonna take you around the universe and show you some of the craziest things in the universe. But when you come back, 15. It will have been 15 years on Earth. Would you take that? Would you take that?
So if I were to go right now,
yes,
I'm 25, and we go around.
No, you'd still be the same age.
No, but you guys would be 15.
Keith didn't even think about it. He didn't even think about it.
He's like,
just me?
Yeah, just you. For you, it's just a week. For everyone else, it's 15 years.
15 years though?
Yeah, 15 years.
15 years.
Time is not real.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but the people age though.
Yeah. People are moving closer to death. Yes, they are. You know.
Yeah.
So,
because I could come back and then some people could be dead, and I'm like, he died like last week. Like, really?
But people gonna die anyway.
That's true.
Whether you go or not, people gonna die.
That's true.
I feel like people would want me to take that. You know what I mean? And I could come back with knowledge that could help people.
Who's going with me?
It's only you, I think.
No, but he's right here.
Are you going?
He's asking. You know what? If you guys all go,
I'll go. Yeah, I was gonna say if you guys go, I'll go. Yeah, I guess.
At least I won't be lonely.
I'm in there.
I won't be lonely.
I crave knowledge so much. You know, like
I want
to know. So
I totally get that too.
I'm in.
15 years isn't that bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad. I've seen ones where it's like 50 years or like 100. And that one I'm like, that's gnarly.
That's more of like an existential crisis, like when you come back, because now technology is different too.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, 6 months the technology is different. So can you imagine what we're going to be in 15 years? Like, I'm so looking forward,
dude,
to our world in 15 years.
Dude, I looked up that Tesla phone you were talking about.
Oh, that I brought up last time.
Have you seen that? The Tesla phone where Elon Musk is he's designing like an iPhone. Like it's the Tesla. It's called
Nice.
it's called the Pi phone.
Smart man. I
and,
love Elon Musk.
He said
I
it's
love
gonna
him.
charge by the sun.
It has solar
Dude.
panels and it charges by the sun.
I adore Elon Musk. Just learning about his story, learning about his trials and tribulations. You know, people see him as a very wealthy man, and so they think that his risk and sacrifice, all right, you may be thinking like, okay, he had 40 million, but he put his last 40 million into SpaceX. You know, his last 40. Like, you may be thinking, well, yeah, this is his last 40, so he's broke now. And I mean, it's just I adore Elon Musk, man.
And now they do contracts for NASA.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. But the Pi phone is wild because Tesla has a satellite which he wants to give free internet to the world. So like the phone directly
links to the satellite.
And so you can basically like be anywhere and like have your phone charges with the sun and you can have access to anyone at anywhere on the planet.
No more being stuck on an island.
And he wants people on Mars to be able to use this.
Oh yeah, that's why he's making it.
Yeah.
It's for when we eventually move to Mars, so that way
we can
it's
call each other.
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah.
I tell you who don't like that. Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos, really?
He's like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing now, huh?
Well,
Watch, Amazon phone coming soon.
Well, have you seen what his space thing is?
No, what is it?
He has a space branch too. It's
Yeah.
called Blue Origin.
Mhm. Yep.
And I think what they're doing is they think how Elon Musk wants to go to Mars. Jeff Bezos
He's on the
wants
moon,
to,
right?
He wants to build like structures.
Oh,
You know how in
yeah.
Interstellar they have that giant
Yep.
like structure.
Oh, yeah.
He wants to do that,
So we can live in space.
We just take off in space.
Like Xenon.
Yeah.
Literally,
the
like
Disney movie?
the 100, like with the movie that just came out, some movie that just came out like
Yeah.
super recently, where they was in space and they had to come back, you know, for after like so many years
Mhm.
to fertilize it. I mean, it's this.
Would you guys do that? Would you either one? If they're like, if you want to go to Mars or you want to go in space, now's the time to do it. But you're not coming back.
Would you?
Would you guys do it?
I wouldn't want to go in space. I mean, I guess we are in space already. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
shit. I mean, like we literally are.
But would you move to Mars though?
Yeah, I
Would you leave
guess
Earth
if
to go
the
to
weather's
Mars?
good. I mean, shit, you know.
The food's good.
Yeah,
But
the food's good, the weather's good.
You can have a
I'm with
show
it.
on Mars.
Yeah, as long as it's all about the weather, because that's a part of my, that's why people like I'm not leaving LA because like I'm not gonna get better weather than right here.
Yeah, it's true.
You could call the show "Talk on the Red Rock."
So, right.
Oh,
I
there you go.
trademarked that.
Trademark it right now when you get home.
That's ours.
That's
Well, yeah, you said it, so now you have proof.
Yeah.
Take that to court.
ours.
All right, guys. Well, today was a very special episode. It was a very solid episode, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope everybody who was listening had fun and took something away from what we said. Do you guys have anything left to say?
Well, Keith, thank you for coming.
Yeah,
having
it was
me.
a pleasure having you.
Yeah.
It
It's
was-
been
so
an
much.
honor also meeting you and like having you in our
Yes,
lives. That is
yes.
great.
Oh man, y'all too kind, man.
Really,
But
really.
I have something to say though, like what y'all have done for us as a team. Like I know when y'all came in, usually we don't really bring shows in that wasn't already established. Y'all have literally given us a new outlook on how we do things because how successful y'all have been. Like to the point now we're like, yo, I think we want to actually bring in shows that are not already established that can develop here because of of how it's done. So y'all have definitely given us a whole new education on how we're approaching our business, how we're approaching the network. We didn't give people chances like that, and y'all have definitely been a bright spot. And every time, like no BS, you can ask Jackie, you can ask Michael. We always use y'all as an example when we are meeting with shows, and we're always meeting with shows. Not always signing them, but we're always meeting with shows. And we use y'all as an example for a lot of shows because a lot of shows come in and their idea is still premature, and we say, hey, we have a show that was just like y'all and they're successful, so it can be done. So it really gave us the confidence that we can work with shows. And thank y'all, because y'all completely changed our outlook on how we were doing things. So man, y'all been an asset since y'all came in, so I
Thank
appreciate
you.
that.
That's great to
Thank
hear.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Oh
real.
my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, Julie, end the show right now. End it on that. I want to end on a high note.
All right. Well, TG and Latinx, thank you. We
Much
love
love.
the Primos.
Thanks,
We
everybody
love
who's
all of
watching.
y'all.
We'll
and
see
we'll
you
see
guys
y'all
next
next
week.
time.
Peace.
Okay, now that we have the special YouTube content.
yes.
YouTube always gets special.
We always do one last
Let's do
thing
it.
for YouTube. What do we do?
I like
What do we do?
Keith, do you have anything? Just
Special?
it could be a question. It could be a topic. Just really quick.
You do a backflip.
Whatever
it could
you
be
want,
anything.
Whatever.
Do you know how to do a backflip?
I do not, and I do not know how to do a backflip. I don't have the confidence, and I hear that's all that's necessary to do it. No, I don't have nothing. I guess I would just say what Gary Vee says: you're gonna die.
Yeah, okay, sure.
That's pretty good. That's all right.
You're gonna die.
Yeah.
That's some inspiration